Hey everyone, Depressed Eeyore here with Middara on Tabletop Simulator. So this is going to be mostly a little bit of a lore dump, not from the actual storybook itself, but the character cards that were on the main boards here are actually locked cards that you can unlock and take a look at. And the opposite side of all these cards actually have some backstory and lore and other things on it. That includes summons and even combatant monsters. Bosses as well, but as of recording this, I believe you guys have not encountered any bosses just yet. So I'm just going to do what we've encountered so far as what I've uploaded on YouTube. Obviously, on my own recording front, I'm much further along. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. All right, this is for Remy Moretti, daughter of the Black Hand. The Moretti family has a dark reputation. Together with the help of Grace Zhang, governor of Ramstead, Malik Moretti established Alenia's most notorious criminal organization, the Black Hand. Specializing in information brokering for the aristocrats of Alenia, the group was tolerated by those in charge. With Grace's support, Malik transformed the small village of Ramstead into a bustling trade center. It came as a surprise to everyone when the ruthless and cruel Malik Moretti had a daughter arrive on Middara. The girl was harbinged from Earth through private services, circumventing the country's long wait list to have children. Many saw this as an attempt to keep the child secret so the family's business wouldn't bring unwanted consequences for the girl. Remy's upbringing on Earth was one of hardship, something Malik had orchestrated to help build character. Once she arrived, Malik quickly realized that she wasn't like him. She was timid, but also kind and eager to help others. Malik embraced this and tried his hardest to keep her away from the Black Hand affairs. She wasn't the heir he planned for, but she was something more than that to him now. He loved her dearly for her innocence. Remy arrived after the start of the Institute of Alenia's school year, and so she was able to enjoy Ramstead for nearly a year before being sent off to earn her citizenship. This time allowed her to pick up some skills from her father's friends, like lockpicking, sneaking, and subterfuge. She may have been kind-hearted, but she had a mischievous streak. Adjusting to life on Middara was hard at first, especially her advancement. It was terribly painful, but left her with wings which she learned to use with great enthusiasm. Even so, the loss of her Earth family weighed heavily on her. She had been told by Malik that they worked for him and she'd see them again, but this didn't make her miss them any less. So that's just definitely kind of fits with how she's been behaving and the fact that she has skills that are very roguish, to say the least. And it also talks a little bit about how I guess how more Midaran citizens are essentially created, because you can't really have children in Middara because aging can't happen. So you have to essentially have the child. You have to essentially procreate on Earth and then have the child grow up in Earth until a set time set by the parents to be taken to Middara that way. And of course, essentially, mafia ties and stuff like that apparently got her through the waiting list much quicker. All right, Zeke Zhang, the auspicious heir. The illustrious Zhang house of Alenia has done a much better job at producing long-living offspring than their friends, the Arsons. While the Arson family had given birth to multiple healthy children, most either left the kingdom, died, or disappointed their father enough to be ruled out as successors to the throne. As a diarchy, the kingdom of Alenia needed to unify both the Zhang and Arson houses through blood. Zeke and his cousin Tyrael have been conceived with the intent of merging these powerful households. While his cousin had been born 16 years earlier, the family didn't want to take any chances. A second child was on the way of hedging their bets, with both births timed alongside an Arson child. Shortly before his death, the powerful and revered Lo Zhang and his queen Ida gave birth to Zeke. This made Zeke the first and only child of Lo Zhang, and what many in Alenia see as their true heir to the Zhang family's title. This has made him the center of attention among the ruling class. Zeke's Earth life was supposed to be one of rigid rules and education, but thanks to a nearly senile foster parent, Zeke got none of those things. Shortly after arrival on Middara, Ida found that her son was disobedient, lacked etiquette, and was a nuisance in his classes. A magical world was supposed to be full of adventure, but Zeke found himself bombarded with all the things he hated most: responsibility, expectations, and rules. While he was told about his arranged marriage with Nightingale Arson, deep down he knew it would never happen. The two had a great friendship, but she was like a sister. Even so, he could tell his birth mother truly loved him, so Zeke aspired to become, if not the perfect heir, at least an acceptable son. Second Princess of Alenia, Nightingale was groomed for her role as princess. The motel where she worked, the high school she attended, and even her foster parents were specifically chosen to produce the kind of child the Arson family wanted. However, the nature of raising children vicariously through the Harbinger program is prone to ruin even the most carefully laid plans. When Nightingale entered junior high school, she met a fellow student named Khufu Taiga. The two quickly became close friends and began doing everything together. This relationship blossomed throughout her high school years. When Nightingale was finally pulled into Middara shortly after graduation, Khufu followed the Harbingers assigned to retrieve her, and he was able to find his way into Middara. These events didn't bode well for the Arson family. Her Midaran parents, Balthazar and Kezia, had intended Nightingale's arrival to coincide with that of the Zhang's son, Zeke. Afraid that Khufu's familiarity with their daughter might threaten the relationship with Zeke they hoped for, Balthazar had Khufu moved to Tima to become part of the Demiurge program. This move allowed Balthazar to keep Khufu away while still honoring Nightingale's request that he be allowed to stay in her life. To Arfson's disappointment, their daughter was anything but regal. She was crass, loud, and rambunctious. She scored high in all of her classes, but got into trouble often and drove many of her teachers crazy. Despite this, she was personable and admired by her classmates. What made her father furious was her desire to join the Demiurge, Elenia's special ops team. Balthazar's son Dominique had already died in their service, and he wasn't going to let his family suffer that kind of loss again. I think we met Khufu as part of the graduation, and he mentioned things like, Nightingale's father, sending him on tasks to try to get him killed and things like that, though I think he was saying it more as a joke. Sorry if you're noticing me cutting the video. My headset is charging at the same time and seems to not be charging as fast as it's using energy, I guess. Anyway, let's see, Rook here. Prodigious student. Occasionally the Institute of Alenia finds itself a brilliant student of great skill. It's not unusual that these students are recruited by the elite for purposes that require the most talented men and women. Rook never would have considered himself one of these chosen few. While his grades were good, he never understood why the Zhang family chose him to tutor their youngest son, Zeke. The two became fast friends, despite their very different personalities. Unbeknownst to Rook, his good fortune wasn't a coincidence. Rook was identified early as an individual that excelled in both intellect and loyalty. For the aristocrats of Alenia, personality is more important than simple talent. Rook's selfless nature and level head made him a potential asset to the royal family, and the Institute could see that. Despite their close eye on his progress, Rook had a secret. Shortly after his arrival in Middara, Rook explored some ruins near his family's rural farming homestead. There he found an amulet left behind by an ancient civilization that once inhabited Alenia. Excited that his family might be able to use the gold that the amulet might fetch, Rook made his way back home to share the good news. As he traveled, something strange happened. The amulet began to glow, and a spectral girl appeared in the air before him. She said her name was Siri, and explained that the artifact connected her to their world. She warned that her world, Arkala, was forbidden from interacting with Middara, and asked that he keep the amulet a secret. Despite the danger, Suri was curious about Middara and Rook, and they soon became friends. Since his first encounter with Suri, Rook has kept her and the true nature of the amulet a secret. Their bond grew over the years that he spent at the Institute. They learned from each other's strange lives. Alright, the summons. Unstoppable ambitions. Today was the day. She could feel it in her gut. Elfie watched as the elders marched down the line. Other prospective viscera awaited, hoping to be chosen as marked ones. With that honor, they could finally begin their journey to other realms. As the elders approached her, Elfie straightened. Kartan stopped for a moment and stared into her eyes. She tried not to blink. To her dismay, he kept walking, passing her by. Why? What had she done? She'd worked so hard. And still they wouldn't choose her. That evening, Elfie watched the ceremony from the sidelines. The entirety of her original class had been chosen by now, leaving her as the oldest student still here. In her years of training, only a rare few were denied the privilege of being Viscera Aramids. Apparently she would make the list. She couldn't take it anymore. She struggled for years. She was meant for more than a boring life in the city. Carton was alone in his tent when she entered. Elfie didn't wait to be addressed. Why? Why have I not been chosen? All the others are now marked, yet I remain. The elder looked stern. It was not in the augury, he whispered, pity on his face. But my performance, Elfie retorted, but Carton cut her off. Means nothing if it isn't foretold. You cannot be a Vesper Aramed. You must wait for your time. Elfie wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. If she wanted to be summoned, she needed to prove to the fates that she was worthy. She turned to leave, frustrated and humiliated. Elfie, Carton said before she could go, the augury has revealed something else to the elders. You may yet be chosen, but first there is a task for you. Hope welled up inside Elfie, replacing her fear. I will do anything that is necessary, she said, and she knew that it was true. And we haven't really done with anything with this summon, but this is a spirit blade known as Zulfikar. The Wasp Master. Zulfikar's single eye watched as the sun set on the horizon. Beside him, he felt Zoe stir. Zulfikar had stuck himself in an expansive open field, allowing his master a place to rest. She was sleeping now, leaning against him. Her long green hair trailed past her body, dragging into the grass. Zulfikar couldn't frown, but he still felt displeased as he saw the hair running through the dirt beneath her. It'd be dirty when she awoke, though Zulfikar knew his master wouldn't care. Something squawked nearby, making Zulfikar's giant eye dart up to see Mr. Marbles on his hilt. Quiet, you'll wake her, Zulfikar hissed. The damn bird was a nuisance. It spoke its own language, something Zulfikar couldn't understand. Even so, Zulfikar was certain the bird understood just fine. It obeyed perfectly when Zoe gave commands. His attempts to keep Mr. Marbles quiet were in vain. Zoe stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She smiled, seeing her two best friends above her. What's up, guys? She asked, rolling off Zulfikar and onto the grass. There she stretched, shaking away the last vestiges of sleep. Mr. Marbles was silent now. Instead, the bird just cocked its head sideways and looked dumbly at her. Woke me for the sunset? Zoe asked, sitting up. Oh man, just look at it. Zulfikar only looked at her. The girl was beaming, a wide smile on her face. The setting sun set cast hues of orange and pink against her skin, juxtaposing against her bright green hair. It made her whole face seem like an oversaturated collage of bright colors. I wish I could freeze this moment in time, Zoe said as she leaned back against Zulfikar. Me too, Zulfikar muttered, watching her with satisfaction. From atop him, Mr. Marble squawked in agreement. Alright, now the intelligent combatants. We of course got the cave sickles here. Both cave sickles 1 through 3 and 4 through 6 have the same background, so I only grabbed one of the cards. The skittering multitudes. A common problem that many explorers run into while traveling in Alinea is cave sickles. While they are considered one of the least dangerous monsters in Alinea, the fact that they roam in groups makes them troublesome foes that are deadly when underestimated. For reasons unknown, they found a success establishing colonies in almost every cave system, and ruin large enough to be worth exploring. As common as these rock-like bugs can be, very little is known about them. They drag away anything they kill, presumably to great middens of former prey. But when followed back to their nest, there are no bones, debris, or signs that they eat what they kill. Many scholars think they drag their victims deeper into the hives before eating them, or perhaps store them for later consumption. Despite their sizes, cave sickles are able to squeeze through very tight spaces, and their hives are almost always behind small cracks and crevices that run deep into the ground. This has made efforts to learn more about their social structure and mating habits and diet much more difficult. Attempts to pry into their hive were met with stiff resistance, with dozens of cave sickles descending on the intruders. There are also rumors of other types of cave sickles deeper in the hives, much like ants or bees on Earth. Scholars speculate they may have workers, warriors, and perhaps even queen caste. Naturalists agree that this is likely, but no attempt to confirm these theories has met with success. Sickles would not be so dangerous if it wasn't for their venom. An otherwise minor cut can become a deadly wound in moments, as their venom acts distressingly fast. Adventurers heading out beyond the safety of city walls regularly caution to carry antidotes in the case of contact with cave sickle venom. Expeditions within Alenia are actively underway to uncover more of these dangerous bugs and perhaps even find a queen. The quest to develop a more efficient way to deal with these tenacious creatures has kept naturalists busy for decades. Givaudan. Like weeds, their numbers grow. Many consider Givaudan beautiful. Their lithe bodies are covered in thick snow-white fur and intricate markings adorning their brows. Many foolishly compare them to earth canines and assume they will have similar temperament. Unfortunately, their beauty belies their nature. The beast is a fierce creature with a razor-tipped tail and teeth to match. They are efficient and voracious predators, a dangerous nuisance to farmers across the continent of Haltis. Pack animals by nature, it is almost impossible to find a single Givaudan. Givaudan designated pack leaders according to strength, and the species appears to lack any strong sexual dimorphism. Unlike many animals, the alpha takes responsibility for the whole pack instead of merely dominating them. They are the ones to scout out prey and initiate a hunt. They eat last, breed first, and make sure to maintain order amongst themselves. A pack's alpha will be the first to show itself, sometimes acting as bait before the rest of the pack descends upon their hapless prey. If threatened, even separate packs of Givaudan will work together to protect themselves and their territory. This sense of temporary allegiance between packs of Givaudan shows an intelligence that goes beyond similar creatures on Earth. Many enterprising colonists have fallen to overwhelming numbers of Givaudan who unite to keep their territory free of other predators. Givaudan have also been known to kill for sport rather than to sate their hunger. This is most evident in places where there are no natural predators to cull their numbers. As far back as written history survives, colonies and cities designated adept hunters and warriors to combat the Givaudan threat along their borders. These chosen individuals are known in modern times as the Order of Shepherds, and their goal is to manage the Givaudan population and drive the beast away from civilization. They do not always succeed. Alright, done with smart doggos, let's go to water loas. Troubled waters. For a long time, loas were thought to be spirits trapped in specially crafted gems, relics of a long-dead civilization. Gems known to contain loa were very rare, and it was assumed that the magic used to capture a loa in crystal had been lost. Once the recolonization of Alenia began in earnest, explorers soon began encountering loa in the wild. These sentient crystalline beings were determined to be a species unto themselves, with each loa acting as an individual. Every loa has a preferred medium it uses to create a body. When dormant, a loa appears to be a semi-precious gem. Loa crystals span a wide range of colors, hues, and sheens. If a loa feels threatened or wants to move somewhere else, it can gather materials of its favorite element around itself to create a body. Loa of all types are a very common sight on Alenia. Water loas draw nourishment from water and in the process purify it. In fact, were it not for the inevitable conflict between humans and loa, it might be beneficial to keep a few in the city's water supply to purify it. Unfortunately, if a water loa sees anyone drawing from their waters, they will defend their territory ferociously. When a water loa creates a body, it pulls water around itself, usually in the shape of a slight female humanoid. Unlike earth loa, who usually only form a body when threatened, water loas are often seen in this state. It's speculated that this form was originally taken as a self-defense mechanism, as many adventurers would likely let their guard down when approaching such a form. While other loa are largely solitary, water loas are much more social, interacting with other creatures in their environment. This has caused many to consider if loa could be more intelligent than they appear. While there is no recorded account of the creatures learning any language that humans can understand, it's widely accepted that they can communicate complex ideas and emotions to each other. And now to our Earth brethren. Mineral menaces. For a long time, loa were thought to be spirits trapped in specially crafted gems. Gems are to contain are very rare, and it was assumed that the magic used to capture loa had been lost. So we read that already. Yep. Okay, so just going to the third paragraph there. Earth loa are one of the common types adventurers encounter next to their kindred, the water loa. They reside in forests, caves, and anywhere else with easy access to earth and stone. They tend to keep to unsettled areas, and interaction with humans often turn violent. They seem to get sustenance simply by being in contact with the ground, and so far have never been seen feeding. When they gather earth to form a body, they create a humanoid shape, although it is usually rough and asymmetrical. Earth Loa only form a body if they feel threatened, and when they do, it is almost very large. Earth Loa fight with brute force, smashing opponents with rocky club-like arms. While these creatures won't actively chase down and kill humans, they are spooked easily. Their small size, while dormant, makes them hard to notice until an adventurer unwittingly stumbles upon them. Their physical forms are very tough and resistant to attacks from most conventional weapons. Caravans traveling through lands known to be inhabited by Earthloa make sure to bring along a mage to kill or subdue these creatures. Earthloa have shown surprising intellect, some reportedly hiding as jewelry for years until they perceive a threat. This usually leads to the death of the owner or the Loa. So I guess that's why they don't bother with air or fire Loa, because they actually need like physical things instead of just gases, I guess. All right, this is an animate. That's right. Forbidden amalgamation. When first arriving on Middara, amateur summoners are warned over and over again about the dangers of summoning an animate, but the lure of easy access to such powerful creatures tempts many into folly. The animate's nature forces them to take every order literally, often in ways no human could imagine. Even a simple instruction like "protect me" can end with the creature attacking a friend attempting to shake hands. Many naive students practicing assemblage may initially consider this drawback a mere annoyance compared to the strength an animate bring to bear on the battlefield. But for every case of such disregard for the dangers, there is another tragic tale of friends slain by accident. Furthermore, animates endure long after the death of their summoners. They will roam the empty manors of their fallen masters, continuing to fulfill their original purpose. In effect, this may very well set up an ambush for anyone who might come inquiring about their former master's well-being. Many think of an animate as the armor itself, but in fact it's the creature inside. This creature is rarely seen, since after it dying it quickly decomposes. This leaves behind only the husk of the armor it once inhabited. It wasn't until the writing of the ancient grimoire Abacus Albert that the true nature of animates became widely known. Animates hail from the realm of Arcala. There they can be seen in their full natural form. They lack any armor or weapons, instead appear as a floating Euclidean conglomerate of red tentacles and shifting eyes. Despite its horrifying appearance, an animate is very easy to make contact with. Once sworn, they are known to accept pacts with unwavering dedication. This easy access to powerful and dangerous creatures is one of the reasons Arcala became a forbidden realm. Even before the Grand Congregation on Iliad sealed the plane and marked it as subject to the Great Bounty. So animates actually have a body inside the armor, which can be poisoned, which is probably why they're not immune to it. And then last is a Merc Hound, which we've only encountered a weakened form. Stay out of the water. Merc Hounds are spiny creatures that live in lakes, swamps, and marshes. While they are technically mammals, warm-blooded and air-breathing, Merc Hounds spend almost all their lives in the water. Finding a Merc Hound on dry land is very rare, and it will almost always be only a short distance away from the waters of its home. The only time Merc Hounds willingly spend time on land is during birth. Like most mammals, Merc Hounds deliver live young. It takes several weeks for a Merc Hound pup's lungs to develop. This means both mother and baby must stay at the water's edge while the pups grow. Merc Hounds have double sets of lungs that fill the entire top half of the torso. This allows them to stay submerged for long periods of time and gives them enough buoyancy to float near the water's surface without expending much energy. Their eyes are set on opposite sides of their heads, and each eye moves independently of the other. This allows them to easily spot prey and danger alike. Despite their aggressive nature and carnivorous appetites, Merc Hounds can be tamed. While it's not unheard of for a landowner to utilize tamed Merc Hounds to defend crops or livestock, it's certainly rarer than their alternative use. Due to their strange appearance, Merc Hounds more often find themselves being displayed as curiosities in fairs and private menageries. Those looking to make quick money will stalk the swamps during birthing season, raiding nests for newborn hounds. Each year, foolhardy hunters fall victim to Merc Hound mothers who vigilantly defend their young. And there you go. That's what we've encountered so far as characters, summons, and intelligent combatants. There'll probably be a few more. For the most part, we've encountered almost all the standard intelligent combatants. The only one we haven't encountered yet is a Fragor, which he will eventually. And then, of course, everything else is probably special type encounters. There's also technically more difficult versions of various monsters, like Elder Cave Sickles, for example, which are alternates. But as far as I can tell, they are, okay, so that's what... Okay, I did not know this. I think these alternate cards are only used for harder, if you want to make the game harder, but I'll take a look at that later in the future. Anyway, I'm the Depressed Dealer. This was Middara. See you guys later.